Kale Thyros checked the shuttle's 2 exits before he said a word. Aft hatch, sealed, pressure nominal, cockpit viewport, intact. The violet edge of the Velurus Nebula smeared across the glass like a bruise. Then he looked at Sarathy Voss. She sat in the pilot's seat, with her hands 6 inches above the controls, fingers spread, trembling, not from cold. The progenitor threads woven into the control surfaces pulsed faint blue-white, and every pulse made her flinch as though the light had weight. 4 breaths in, 7 breaths out. She had been counting since they left the archive. The shuttle was a salvage job. 2 seats, a cargo bay the size of a coffin, and hybrid controls where human toggle switches sat next to alien thread interfaces that nobody had designed for human hands. The amber emergency lighting turned everything the color of old rust. Condensation crawled down the viewport in slow orange trails. Somewhere behind the instrument panel, something hummed. Not mechanical, biological. The threads were responding to her proximity, and they would not stop. Sarathy whispered, "Every time I get close to the controls, the threads light up." She pulled her hands back another inch, and when they light up, she swallowed. The blockade sees us. Kale leaned over the co-pilot's console and brought up the passive sensor suite. The display painted the picture in pale blue. 12 Ithonis warships arranged in a crescent formation across the nebula's outer boundary. Their sensor arrays sweeping visible beams through the dust. Between them, interceptor pairs patrolled in tight orbits. His prosthetic hand rested on the comm array housing, and the exposed joint mechanisms twitched once, a reflex he did not notice. Kale said, "Crescent formation, standard Ithonis containment doctrine. They are not trying to destroy us." He paused. "It is a capture formation. Lysara wants you alive." Sarathy asked, "Why?" Kale replied, "Because dead, you are a martyr. Alive, you are a key she can turn." In the war room atop the throne spire, 9,000 light years away, Empress Regent Lysara Ithonis stood before the holographic tactical display and watched the shuttle's last known position pulse red against the violet projection of the nebula. The display cast pale blue light across her face. On her mantle, 3 star systems had already gone dark. Territories surrendered to house Thyros border fleets. The luminous thread pulsed faintly. A garment that was also a map. Also a wound. Lysara said, "Capture protocols hold. No kill orders. If that shuttle is destroyed, the binding dies with her, and every faction with progenitor ambitions loses their only interface." Blockade Commander Azrin's voice came through the comm, flattened by distance. He replied, "Regent, the shuttle's emission signature is inconsistent. It flares progenitor band frequencies at irregular intervals, like a heartbeat. My tactical officers believe the pilot is interfacing with the shuttle's threaded systems." Lysara said, "She is. That is exactly why she must be taken intact." She studied the display. The heliovore targeting data she had compiled sat in a classified partition. Coordinates for a weapon that could crack a planet's mantle. She had pulled back from firing. But the data existed now, and 3 factions were trying to steal it. Restraint had not erased the sin of preparation. Sarathy pressed her palms flat against the progenitor threads. The pain was immediate. Not heat, not cold, but a deep nerve fire that started at her wrists and raced up her forearms to the base of her skull, where the binding scars were thickest. The threads blazed blue-white. The shuttle's dead instruments flickered to life. Navigation overlays she had never seen. Trajectory arcs drawn in geometries that human mathematics had no notation for. She could feel the blockade, not see it, feel it. 12 masses of metal and intention arranged like teeth. Kale shouted, "Serethi, the emission spike. They have us now." She did not pull away. The shuttle banked hard to port without her touching the flight stick. Her body was the flight stick. The threads read her nervous system and translated terror into thrust vectors, pain into course corrections. The viewport swung. Stars streaked. The nebula's violet clouds rushed toward them, and 2 interceptor craft peeled off their patrol orbit and converged. Serethi said, "I can see the gaps." Kale demanded, "What gaps?" Serethi replied, "Between their sensor sweeps, 90-meter windows that open every 14 seconds. The threads are showing me." The shuttle threaded the first gap at a velocity the hull was never rated for. Metal groaned. The viewport cracked in a thin line from the lower left corner. Serethi's hands were locked to the thread interfaces, her fingers white. The binding scars climbing past her wrists now. Luminous veins spreading across her forearms like roots in time-lapse. Each new tendril accompanied by a fresh spike of nerve fire that made her jaw clench hard enough to taste copper. Kale worked the co-pilot station with a calm his voice did not match. His prosthetic hand moved across the emission controls, damping the shuttle's broadcast signature each time Serethi's interface flared. It was like bailing water from a sinking ship. Every suppression bought them seconds before the next progenitor pulse lit them up again. Commander Azrin watched the shuttle's track on his tactical display and felt something he had not felt in 30 years of service. Professional admiration for the enemy. The shuttle was threading gaps his own pilots would not attempt, moving with a fluidity that no human reaction time could produce. He opened the fleet channel. Azrin commanded, "All interceptor elements converge on Corridor 7. The target is running the sensor seams." But the shuttle was already through Corridor 7 and banking into 8. Serethi was not thinking anymore. The binding had dissolved the boundary between her intentions and the shuttle's systems, and she moved through the blockade the way water moves through rock, finding fissures no one had mapped. 2 more interceptors converged. The shuttle rolled between them, with 3 meters of clearance on each side, close enough that Kyle saw the pilot's face in the nearest cockpit. Young, terrified, reaching for a weapons toggle he had been ordered not to press. Lysara's capture order was killing them. A destroy command would have ended this in seconds. Concentrated fire from 12 warships on a shuttle with no shields. But capture meant precision, restraint, intercept angles that corralled rather than eliminated. And Serethi was not behaving like something that could be corralled. The shuttle punched through the inner line. The nebula swallowed them, violet and gold clouds closing behind like a curtain. The warship's sensor beams scattered in the ionized gas. For a moment, the cockpit was quiet, except for the hum of the threads, and Serethi's ragged breathing. Then she convulsed, her spine arched against the pilot's seat. Her hands locked rigid on the thread interfaces, tendons standing out like cables. The binding scars had reached her collarbones. She could feel them, hot and crawling. A lattice of alien light being written into her skin, The shuttle's instruments screamed data she could not read, trajectories and coordinates, and something else, something deeper. A broadcast pulse, their exact position, painted across every frequency the progenitor network used. Kale reached across and pulled her hands free. The threads dimmed. The shuttle systems went dead. Navigation, life support, everything, then rebooted on battery power. Human instruments only, dim and primitive and blessedly silent. Serethy slumped forward. Her forearms glowed faintly in the emergency light. Kale whispered, "You are alive. Stay with me." Serethy said, "I can still feel them. The threads. They are still in my nervous system." She looked at her hands. The binding scars formed a branching pattern from her wrists to her elbows, luminous even without contact with the interfaces. "It is not reversing, Kyle. Whatever the archive started, it is still going," Kyle said. "We will find a way to stabilize." Serethy replied, "There is no stabilizing. That is what I felt. The binding does not pause. It does not negotiate. It finishes, or it kills. And right now, it is doing both." Kale sat very still. His prosthetic hand rested on the co-pilot's armrest, and in the silence, he heard it. A faint, rhythmic click from the joint mechanisms. Not a twitch, a transmission log. He pulled up the hand's diagnostic feed with his other hand and read the output twice. During the chaos at the archive, during the minutes when the sunken archive systems had been fully active and interfacing with Serethy, his prosthetic hand had transmitted a secondary signal, a compressed data burst on a House Thyros military frequency. Coordinates. Their coordinates. Kale said, "Serethy." She looked at him. Kale said, "My hand sent a signal at the archive. I did not authorize it. The implant has dormant Thyros protocols I thought I had scrubbed." Serethy stared at him. The shuttle drifted. Behind them, Lysara's blockade was already repositioning. Following the broadcast trail Serethy had painted through the sensor net. Ahead of them, open space. And now, somewhere in it, a House Thyros intelligence asset with their exact location. In the war room, Lysara watched the shuttle's trail dissolve into the nebula's interference and felt the tactical display dim. She had not fired. She had held to capture protocols, and the girl had flown through her net like light through a prism. Commander Asrin's after-action report would be clinical. Hers would not. She touched the partition containing the heliovore targeting data. Still there. Still classified. 3 factions were trying to steal it. And now, Serethy was loose in the sector with a partially active binding that could light up every progenitor system she touched. Lysara had chosen restraint over annihilation. She was no longer certain that made her wise. Serethy sat in the pilot's seat. She counted. 4 breaths in, 7 breaths out. The binding scars on her forearms pulsed in time with something that was not her heartbeat. She looked at Kyle, at his prosthetic hand resting still on the armrest, at the surgical scar on his temple, at the face of a man who had once cut himself free from his own house, and now sat in a shuttle full of transmissions he could not explain. Serethy asked, "Who else received those coordinates, Kyle?" He did not check the exits. There were no exits to check. The shuttle drifted. The nebula glowed. And in her wrists, under her skin, the progenitor threads hummed, patient, unfinished, and counting down.